Hello everyone, this is Suneve, and I'm coming to you with You'll Learn to Love Me, a Yandere Masky X-Reader by FluffyWubs. We're going to be starting off with Chapter 18. Isn't it nice? Huh? The snow. I glance up at the sky, watching as multiple flakes of white fall on top of my hood. Well, he's not wrong. The snow is definitely nice. It brings out beauty and peace, at least that's how I see it. I guess, I mutter out with a shrug of my shoulders. Masky smiles beneath his mask. Sorry. He apologizes with a soft chuckle. I glance up at him in confusion. What's he sorry for? I know this mask makes you uncomfortable, so let me just... Masky trails off, letting go of my hand before removing his mask from his face. He opens up half of his jacket, stuffing his mask inside before zipping his jacket closed. There, better, right? He smiles at me, grabbing my hand once more. I avoid his gaze and simply nod. Well, yeah, it is better, but it still doesn't change the fact that his alter ego is a murderer. I cast a quick glance towards him and he just looks normal, like any other human being on this planet. He barely seems a threat without his mask. I can notice a thin layer of snow already forming up on his hair. It reminds me of the time that we rushed into the cafe to retrieve my phone and ended up with a bunch of snow on his hair. You alright, Sunshine? He looked deep in thought. Masky's voice made me jump out of the blue. I realize I've been staring at him for maybe more than just 1 minute without even realizing it. The blood rushes to my cheeks as I immediately avert my gaze from him. Yikes, that's embarrassing. Sorry, I mumble, burying my reddened face deeper into the jacket. Masky lets out a chuckle and lightly squeezes my hand. Relax, princess, he cooed. I wonder what makes him keep calling me those nicknames. It's not like I mind them or anything, I'm just genuinely curious. Maybe I'll ask him later, if I dare do so. The walk through the forest was silent, but the good kind of silent. It didn't feel awkward, nor did I feel too scared. It was just nice and quiet. I really am enjoying the white scenery around me. I'm not the nature type of person, yet here I am. Just as I'm enjoying the scenery, I suddenly hear a shout from a couple feet away. Heads up. I realized Masky wasn't even beside me, so who would be shouting in the middle of the forest? Turning around, I notice a white blur flying right towards my face. I squeak, pulling my hood down and slightly hunching over, causing the white blur to fly right over me. A snowball? I take a quick glance over my shoulder, and the snowball hit the tree behind me, as I could tell since some snow was stuck on the bark. I look back the direction the snowball came from, only to see Masky innocently grinning with his hands stuffed in his pockets. What in the... Did you just throw a snowball? I bark out, a bit louder than I intended to. This only encouraged Masky to smirk. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. What you gonna do about it? Masky mused, lightly rocking on his feet. Is he challenging me? I narrow my eyes at him. Ah, I see. I see how it is, I emit softly, bending down to grab a big heap of snow into my gloved hands. I squished the snow into the shape of a ball as I heard Masky only tease me more. Oh, I'm terribly scared. I'm sure your aim is... Masky cut himself off as he narrowly misses a snowball to his face by leaning to the side. He turns back to look at me, full of surprise and amusement. I'm sorry, what was that about my aim? I chuckle, forming another snowball in my hands. I'm not letting this go until he gets hit. I have to be honest, I was having loads of fun, even if I wasn't supposed to. A long time has passed, but neither Masky nor me have landed a hit, mainly because he was too good of a dodger and his aim mostly failed me by a lot. He and I were getting tired out by each other, but we were both determined to at least make one of us go down. I was hiding behind a large tree trunk that was planted into the ground, occasionally peeking over it to see if I spotted Masky. So far, so good. I had a couple of snowballs next to my side that were ready to be thrown in case I spotted him anywhere. Nothing. It's all quiet. Far too quiet. And just as I was about to change hiding spots, I'm suddenly tackled down into the snow. Gosh, that's really cold. Surrender and you'll go peacefully. I look up only to see Masky hovering above me with a bunch of snow in one of his hands. Oh boy. The last thing I want is a face full of cold snow. Make me, I exclaim playfully. He's probably just bluffing. Masky arches a brow and grins, and next thing I know, I feel small flakes of snow being dropped onto my bare neck. I give up, I shriek, shrieking slightly from the cold. Masky laughs, patting the snow off of his gloves besides him before standing up. I thought so, he exclaims, with pride in victory, patiently waiting until I get up. Once I get to my feet, I brush the snow off my jacket. From what I'm seeing at the moment, Masky seems off guard. Perfect chance to strike. Before I brushed the last piece of my jacket that was covered with snow, I suddenly lunged onto Masky, tackling him onto the ground like he did to me. It almost felt like pushing some sort of tree down, but I still managed to do it. I'm proud of myself. Gotcha, I beamed proudly, grabbing some snow onto my hand. Masky lets out a short laugh. Clever girl, taking me down when I'm not paying attention, huh? He seemed to be praising me with a small smirk. However, he trails off. I didn't smash the snow in his face just yet, mainly because I'm curious of what he has to say. He doesn't even finish a sentence, he instead flips me over to my side and forces me onto my back. How in the... You should know that I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. He chuckles slowly, pinning my wrists besides both sides of my face. That's oddly impressive. Do you surrender now, sweetheart? His voice sounds softer and much more lower than before. Maybe because his face is so close to mine. I'm flabbergasted, to be frank. My cheeks heat up as I scoff. Beginner's luck, I mutter out softly, making him chuckle. Could be. He plants a kiss on the tip of my frosted nose before allowing me to be released. One thing I realize by now is that Masky just loves to tease. I'm not too fond of that. Once he's up onto his feet, he takes a hold of one of my hands and helps me back on my feet. I pat the snow off my gloves before swiping away the snow in my hair. Well, that was something. I suddenly let out a sneeze, making me cover up my mouth with my gloves. Masky looks immediately alerted. Hey, maybe it's best if we go back inside, he recommends, swiftly putting my arm around my shoulder as I pull my hood over my head. I'm okay, I manage to smile at his concern over nothing. I know you're okay, Masky chuckles, pulling me closer towards him so that he's close enough to kiss the side of my head. But it's best to be safe than sorry. He adds, once again, he's not wrong. Entering the cabin is the most welcoming feeling I can imagine. The moment I step inside, I am greeted with such warmth and coziness that it makes me feel like I'm never going outside again. Just as we enter the cabin, Masky quickly slipped his mask back over his face. Lou was on the couch with Whiskers on his lap, who immediately hopped off Lou's lap once I entered the cabin myself. Lou turned his attention over to the door, smiling at both Masky and I. You two look like you had fun, Lou chuckles, eyeing us both. Is it really that obvious? My face is flushed from both slight embarrassment and from the freezing weather outside. I slide my hood off before unzipping my jacket, and as I slip my jacket off, I can feel Whiskers digging his claws into my pants as an attempt to claw him up. I wince a tad as I feel his claws just brush against my skin from underneath the fabric. I quickly bend down a bit, pulling Whiskers away from my pants before he manages to dig a claw into my skin. Lou, you got any warm sleepwear for her? Masky questions, as I cradle Whiskers in my arms, who seems to be enjoying my company. Lou stands up from his spot along with a nod. Yeah, give me a moment, Lou replies, before making his way up the stairs. Masky watches Lou disappear into the next floor as he gives a quick readjustment on his mask, positioning it to be a better angle than before. He casts a quick glance to the cat in my arms, who kept trying to paw at either my face or loose locks of my hair. He lets out a huff that sounded almost inaudible if I weren't standing so close to him, and I hear him mutter something under his breath, making me perk up my head from Whiskers. I'm not sure if it's directed at me or not, so I decide to ask. Sorry? What was that? I question. Masky takes a quick look at me through the dark holes of his mask before clearing his throat. You give the cat a lot of attention. His voice is soft, and the mask makes it harder for me to understand, but I still manage to pick up on it. I guess? I sputter, taking a quick glance down to Whiskers in my embrace. What kind of statement is that? Of course I'm giving Whiskers the attention. He's such a cuddly, furry, and soft animal. How could I not? Masky lets out a hum mixed with a grunt as he looks away towards the direction Lou disappeared. Weird. A mule made me retract my attention back to Whiskers with a smile. I'm telling you, stay out of our apartment before you arrest me. Is that what you're gonna say? I huff. Emily wasn't making this easier for me. I'm supposed to leave the apartment as it is, and in case there are a few more things I missed last time. Emily, however, was as stubborn as a mule. She wouldn't stop for anything until she got into her friend's apartment. We were already up near her apartment. My colleagues were doing their best to find anything that might give a hint to where Wyan suddenly disappeared to. I had to guard the door, mainly because of Emily doing her best to get in. She tried to push me, squeeze herself through, or just charge at me to get inside, and her attempts were almost absolute failures. Let me in, Dylan. If there's anyone that should be involved with the case, it's me. Now let me through, she demanded, harshly pounding her fist onto my chest. Emily, for the love of God, stop acting like such a child, I snapped bitterly, catching both of her small wrists in my hands. She lifts up her head to give me the coldest glare I could ever imagine. She huffs before moving her gaze to the side. It's Emma, she states again, like the times she had done before. I scoff, noticeably rolling my eyes. We're police. You're nothing but a civilian, and you cannot intervene in an investigation. Now, do yourself a favor and go home. We are taking care of this, I state firmly, as if scolding a small child before allowing her wrist to be free from my grasp. She puffed out her cheeks in irritation as she turned around on her heels. Fine, I'm going to look for her on my own then, she exclaims, before stomping her way to the elevator. She can't be serious. The look on her face tells me otherwise. Oh, for the love of... Emily, hold on. Thanks for letting me borrow some clothes, Lou. Lou beams, giving me his casual, sweet smile. No worries. If you need anything else, just tell me. He grins. I thank him with a smile before returning my attention to the TV. Masky was too busy in the kitchen, apparently making something that would warm me up immediately. I assumed that it would be some tea or something like that. Whiskers was on my lap, softly purring, and what a sweet little animal. I could tell by how Lou was looking at both Whiskers and I interact, it definitely means something to him. He just looks genuinely happy when Whiskers decides to play around with me. I still haven't figured out why, and speaking about Lou, I learned that his alter persona has his own name. I learned much more about his other ego, which made me feel more informed than before. Apparently, the name of the other personality is Sully, the exact opposite of Lou. He's apparently more rough, rude, and colder than Lou. I haven't seen Sully be rude the entire time I've been here, which surprised Lou himself. Sully is usually the one who's around the most, but lately he's been more quiet than usual. According to Lou, I didn't really mind. If Sully wants to appear, he's free to do so. The sound of the TV was soft, creating a more peaceful and silent ambient in the cabin. It's nice. My eyes were fixated on TV, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. That is, until the show we were watching ended and we were greeted with the news. At first, the usual intro of the news played, having the usual news journalist telling the good morning or good afternoon type of thing. Once Lou realized the news was on, he suddenly becomes tense. I notice him share quick glances with Masky before he looks around the couch as if looking for something. I pay no mind to it and keep my eyes on the news. Maybe there's something interesting. Sunshine, mind helping me for a bit? I suddenly hear Masky call out to me from the kitchen. I turn to look at Masky before looking down to my lap as if showing that I couldn't move because of a certain cat on top of me. Whiskers seems so peaceful, almost in a sleeping state. I shoot Masky an apologizing look, which he doesn't seem to accept. Wyatt, come here. His voice sounds demanding. I gulp, taking a quick look at Whiskers. It's either my life or his sleep, so... I pick up Whiskers off my lap, whose reaction is to immediately hold onto my pants with his sharp claws. With a short but quick tug, Whiskers is off my lap and put on the couch before I hurriedly straggle myself over to Masky. I can see Lou frantically patting all over the couch, making Whiskers think that he's making an attempt to play. I was about to ask what he was looking for until I felt Masky place his hand on top of my head. Don't mind him, he simply states. I can't help but feel the need to help. It's just like an instinct of mine, but with Masky practically demanding me to stay next to him, I can't really go anywhere. Here, can you open this up, princess? Masky's voice sounded a bit more softer, almost relieved sounding as he hands me a small white package. From the looks of it, I feel like Masky is trying to distract me from something. I decided to ignore it either way and rip open the package, and inside the small bag is some sort of brown powder. I didn't recognize it at first until the smell hit me. Chocolate powder? I hand the open package back to Masky. Thank you, Sunshine. He shifted his mask just above his lips to allow himself to place a kiss on my forehead. I managed to give him a smile in return as he heads back to where he had left his previous item, which he probably needed at the moment. As I tap my fingers on the counter, I watch as Lou finally finds what he was looking for, the remote control. As he picks it up onto his hands, the remote control slips out of his grasp for them to quit movement, making it slide over to the other side of the room. Lou curses, about to make his way over to the remote until Whiskers beats him to it. His little paws tap multiple buttons, but one of his paws manages to stay stuck on the volume up button. Whiskers! Lou hisses at the TV as the TV gets loud. Even Masky gets startled. My hands shoot up to my ears as the voice of the news reporter booms throughout the cabin. Even with my ears covered, I could still hear every word. And yet the search goes on. The young adult, YN, has been missing for almost 24 hours. Her last appearance... The TV suddenly goes quiet. Lou was on the other side of the room, letting out a sigh from finally getting rid of the booming noise by pressing the mute button. I, on the other hand, was still processing what had been said. Did my name disappear on the news? Am I on the news? I look over to Masky, whose back was turned to me, but I could clearly tell he was tense. I'm being searched. They know I'm missing my home. I can't believe I wasn't thinking about it. I need to get back home, and in the heat of the moment, my anxiety builds up. I can't believe someone already noticed me missing. I can feel my own body start trembling. Nervousness, uneasiness. I'm not sure what I'm feeling right now. Well, Masky turns back around with a cup in his hands, his voice sounding unnervingly chipper. Let me just put this in the microwave and it'll be done. Masky chuckles, heading over to the microwave to put the cup inside. He pulls open the little door and places the cup inside before slamming the tiny door harder than he was supposed to, not only making me, but Lou also flinch. He presses one of the buttons, causing the microwave to do its work. Sunshine? He turns back over to me, making me jump in my place. Something about his tone is not right. I bite the inside of my cheek and give him a questioning stare. Mind going up to our room just for a bit? I need to have a word with Lou. He ruffles my hair lightly. At this point, the tension was high. Even Lou looked uncomfortable, but I try to think of a reason to stay, which only makes Masky place a hand on my shoulder. Even with his mask on, I could sense the cold stare he was giving me. His hand roughly squeezed my shoulder, harder than he usually does. I wince at his touch. Room, now. His voice comes out in a sneer. I don't hesitate to nod before rushing out of the kitchen, and Whiskers immediately follows my trail as I step onto the staircase. Just before I disappear into the small hallway, I could notice Lou giving me a small smile of reassurance, and I shoot him a quick smile in return before heading to my room. Everything should be fine. That is the end of that chapter. The chapter after that one is chapter 19. Let me know how you guys feel about that, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until next time, bye-bye.